Last one for today, because these take forever to load. The next one I want to read to you is Summer's Dawn. It's a story that I wrote for a high school project. Um, I don't. I remember a lot of this story, mostly because I wrote it. But it's also something that at the time I was very proud of, and it was a write-in workshop that I had to do for school in my 12th grade year. The date is, it was written January 25th, 1999. Summer's Dawn. The look on her face was solemn as she handed me a pamphlet. I read the cover title. There was a picture of a pair of parents raising their hands towards a child. On the top, in big green letters, were the words parental abuse. It felt as though she were poking me with a prod as she led me back to the classroom. It's not your fault your mother died. And it's not your fault that your stepfather is not careful with his money. Don't forget what I told you, Miss Summers. Surprised that she even cared about my welfare, I took her words as a step up to the plan in my mind, a plan that would allow me to escape my stepfather's grasp. I walked back into chemistry, where we were taking notes on how a catalyst could be helpful in the making of bombs. As I took my seat, a wad of paper ricocheted off my shoulder. I turned and glared at the girl who had thrown the wad, as if she was a naughty wolf cub and I was her mother scolding her. "Is there a problem, Miss Summers?" Mr. Jones asked. "No," I answered, as I turned and looked up at the teacher, hating the white world's prejudiced ways. "Then sit down and take out your notebook before I send you to the principal's office for class disruption." I sat down on the small wooden seat that splintered slightly. I started to take down the notes off the board, hating the way kids looked and acted around me because of my heritage, and how this two-room schoolhouse felt hot and smelly in the summer and cold and bitter in the winter. It was then when I started to feel qualms in the pit of my stomach. As I walked the 8-mile walk to my jail, I started to daydream about a better way of life. I was sick in my heart with the day in and day out living arrangements. My stepfather beating me every chance he got. He blamed me for my mother's death, saying that it was my fault he senselessly beat her. He also blamed me for the shortage of money, saying that if I didn't stress him out so much, he wouldn't have to drink so much fire water. I looked at the band on my arm, a reminder that my father ruled. The Holocaust never left his Nazi mind, though he had never even lived in the time period of the Holocaust. My being Cheyenne was just a bug, like the Jews were, in his head. My mother was Cheyenne and proud of her heritage. She died under my stepfather's hands. Watching her die as she did brought back the awful memories into my mind. Remembering the day we were taken away by the Ute tribe, a bad enemy of the Cheyenne and the Arapaho, one of the worst. My father was off on the hunt of the Golden Moon. He was more than 5 suns away. I was 3 summers when the Ute tribe had took us away. After the Bucks had their fill of my mother, they sold us to Donald S. King, the white man who would soon become my stepfather. I haven't the foggiest as to why he married her in the first place, but now I was beginning to understand that he just used her to warm his bed at night and to cook his meals by day. As I turned onto my road, I decided that I would start my quest for a better life that lived only in my heart. As I walked up to the door of my jail, I fought the instinct of the deer to run as I realized that my stepfather was home. I opened the door ever so quietly, paused and looked around, my eyes detecting every movement, my ears hearing every word, every sound, feeling like the deer would before the pack closed in for the kill. I heard and saw my stepfather sleeping on the couch, looking like some lifeless prey after the predator had its fill of the carcass that now waited for some scavenger to come pick its broken bones clean. There was about 24 fire water bottles rolling around on the floor, clanking together as they bumped into one another, making a lullaby for my drunken stepfather. As I walked past him and into the kitchen, I looked at the row of knives and fought all thoughts of murder out of my mind. I crept up the stairs, stopping only when the last step creaked. Tripping over the threshold of my broken door, I fell to the floor. I gasped as I heard something stir from downstairs, and then the sound of a bottle breaking to the floor as it slipped from my stepfather's hand. When all was quiet, I got up off the floor and walked towards my bed. And from under my dusty old mattress, I sought out my diary. When I die, I hope it will become published, and that someone like me reads it and knows that she or he is not alone. I looked at my looking glass. My long black hair hung long down past my waist and across my rapidly changing body. My seafoam green eyes were deep and haunted, with bruises beneath them. The welt on my left cheek looked white against my bronze flesh. I wanted to go back. My father did not die. I could feel it. The wolves told me so in my dreams. And we will be running together as one pack again. Just like how I remembered it when I was there before the Ute tribe took me and my mother away. I listen to them, and when they tell me not to be afraid, I will not, for I trust them and their spirits to guide me home, and to tell me how to escape my stepfather's grip and find my Cheyenne father and his people. If my father did die, I would not know what to do, but I would never go back to this life or anywhere near it again. My eyes slid down to the corner of the looking glass where the return letter to the state was, remembering the plea for help I had written to them. However, because I was only 15, they ignored my plea. I was horrified, but my mood changed when I learned of the powwow that was being held by the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes. I knew that if my father were alive, he would be there. I had learned of the celebration from my dreams. The wolves showed me of the Indian ways of making themselves known to the world by showing the whites their ways. To take me out of my depressed mood I was in, I put on my tunic and feathers. My body felt soft beneath the doe-skin leather that was as soft as a baby's tuku, the Cheyenne word for behind. It was very wise of my mother to teach me my true language that was far prettier than the white man's language, which I had reluctantly learned for the sake of communicating with the outside world. But we were here first. Indians never wanted trouble in the first place, but they got it, and now I had more trouble than I could handle. Soon my wounds will have healed, and I can only pray that they will not be reopened. If only my stepfather wasn't so good at his talent of acting out what a father is supposed to act like. When he is full of fire water, his animated soul gets too much for me. I'm going to pause here because it's at 10 minutes and YouTube cuts me off. So stay tuned for the continuation.